After Guatemala, we also tried to find, we thought we found on LinkedIn a sustainable slow fashion factory in Mexico. It was a scam. Yeah. So, I mean, even though the guy was extremely intelligent and he knew everything about fashion, and he did have a factory. I mean, we saw him cutting things. We saw him making samples. Fast forward 8 months and not answering the calls, don't send me any more messages or this is gonna happen. And we're like, okay. So we booked a trip to Mexico and went to go knock on Pablo's door.
Uber driver was like, are you sure this is where you want to get dropped off? And we're like, yes, this is it.
He opened the door. He was not expecting us to show up in Mexico. That happening and losing that much money, I think like it's something that we really wanted to do, right? Because most people would just completely quit after that. I mean, I thought about quitting, just finding a different job.
Do you ever wish you could quit your job and pursue your dreams? Maybe that lingering business idea that's been in the back of your head? This isn't another series about million-dollar ideas. Bizpirations features stories of everyday people, people just like you, people just like me, but the difference is they chose to take a chance. 99% of people will stay exactly where they are. These are the 1%, the other 1% that chose to be different. Let's dive in. Alex and Jess, thank you for having me here today. I really appreciate it. Before we get into the journey of building up your eco and socially responsible swimwear brand, and your journey from English teacher and insurance agent to where we are today, what do we need to know about you that's relevant to the story?
Okay. Well, me personally, I always was into animals and wildlife when I was a kid. So my dream was to always come to Costa Rica. So after school, my graduation present was supposed to be to come to Costa Rica. Unfortunately, my dad passed away, but the family still wanted to do the trip. So I came here specifically to Manuel Antonio. And I just felt reconnected again. I mean, it's a beautiful town, the wildlife, the beaches, and like for the first time, like in that past month that, everyone was mourning, I think we just had like such a beautiful time here that as soon as I went back home, I told my mom, I wrote my mom a business plan and I gave it to her, and it was like a 6-month trial plan. I'm gonna go to Costa Rica, I'm gonna get my TOEFL degree, I'm gonna teach English, see if I get a job. And then, now it's 14 years later and I'm still living here. So that was like a big piece of my story. Manuel Antonio is a big piece of my story. But yeah, that's how I ended up here, I guess.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, Alex?
Well, like you mentioned, I was an insurance agent, and then I wasn't a big fan of that job at all. So I always had in the back of my mind, like I wanted to leave Canada. I didn't want to stay there forever. I wanted to do something different, travel, live at the beach or something like this. I was so over the Canadian winter. So one winter I went to Mexico, and then with a goal of finding a job and kind of like starting a new life there or something. That didn't work out. So I ended up staying there for 3 months, went back to Canada. And then at some point I was in contact with someone that was living in Costa Rica. That person asked me like, hey, I have a boat, like, do you want to come to Costa Rica, work for me for a few months? And I was like, yeah, why not? So me and my best friend at the time, we came to Costa Rica. We planned on being here for 3 months and then basically for the full winter. And then whenever we got here, we realized that his plan was like, he basically
not a plan.
Exactly. He didn't have a plan. He wanted us to like go to the beach to look for client, try to find reservation. But he had told me that everything, like he already had clients lined up, reservation and things like this, but it was a lie. So the first place that he brought me to was Manuel Antonio. We went to the marina in Capos. And then of course, when we went to the beach, we were like, wow, like this is paradise. This is so pretty. So whenever we decided not to work with this guy, the only place we knew was Manuel Antonio. So we just hopped on a bus and came to Manuel Antonio. And the same thing, like 9 years later, I'm still here.
And so when you first got here, I mean, were you even looking for a job at that point, or were you kind of like,
or still like in vacation mode, right?
Yeah, I was definitely on vacation mode because I had a plan of being here for 3 months. So at that point, it was just like the beginning of January. And so I didn't find work. I didn't try to find work or anything. And then at the end of these 3 months, my friend went back to Canada, and I made the decision of staying here because it was like April or something. So I knew it was still like kind of winter and cold and snow and everything. So I decided to stay here. And then at that point, I looked for a job.
Okay. And what kind of jobs did you guys have when you were growing up?
Well, my first job, I was at a pizza shop, Angelo's Pizza, shout out. And I actually worked there for many years, even after my first job. I went back to it when I was in college, to their sister location, and continued to work there. It was just like a super chill job, and it was allowed me to make extra money. I had other jobs in the US. I was always like a bartender, waitress, working at the casino, things like that in that industry prior to moving here and teaching. Yeah.
What about you?
My parents had a bar and a restaurant when I was growing up. So whenever I could start to work, I started to work with them. So I did this for a while. The bar and the restaurant before.
And do you think like your parents having a bar, restaurant, doing their own thing has any influence on, now you off on your own as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think it really helped to grow up with entrepreneur parents because I saw kind of like, I grew up with that mentality of being your own boss, like having a little more freedom, having employees instead of having a boss. So it definitely helped.
And did your parents, were they entrepreneurs as well, or?
My mom is a dentist, and my dad owned a restaurant as well. He owned a restaurant in Virginia Beach. So same thing. I grew up like in that little restaurant, and it's inspiring. I mean, I knew from a young age that I wanted to work for myself as well. I think teaching was kind of just like part of my path to create what actually I really wanted with the swimwear and the brand now.
And has there been anyone that's been particularly influential in the swimwear, or even just you being where you are today, owning your own business?
When I wanted to do the swimwear, I was quite clueless. I mean, I just knew, okay, I want to make some swimwear. I love swimwear. I don't want to buy it anymore. I went back to the U.S. for a couple months to try to investigate how I can produce it in the U.S. because here I didn't have any contacts yet, and I didn't know what I was doing. So my mentor, David Coral, he pretty much told me, listen, I'm going to send you to work Miami Swim Week, which was a dream of mine forever. And I basically was the intern to one of his friends who had like a wrap company, dresses. So I went and, I learned a lot from her, just making sales, talking to clients, and that whole world. I mean, it was so overwhelming because there was probably 2,000, 3,000 booths there. And I'm just, at that time, I was sewing the swimwear myself. So I was like, okay, this is not going to work. I need help. And when I came back to Costa Rica, my plan was to not produce in the US anymore, to produce where I was living. Even though everyone said not to do that, I wanted to produce here in Costa Rica where I can oversee everything. And that's where I started to begin just asking for contacts, asking for some samples. And we found a family in San Ramon that we worked with for a couple of years for the first start of it. Yeah.
And I mean, you're from Canada, you're from the US, you didn't know each other before you came here.
She bought bikinis from me.
Yeah.
So that's how we met.
Yeah, tell me about like the day you guys met.
I guess at that point I was just a beach bum. I was just here like
Me too.
living the dream, just like spending time at the beach, and I needed a new bathing suit and somebody put us in contact. I feel.
Yeah, and I was just at that point, I had like small production and was just selling swimwear at the beach, just to people that I knew or tourists that were coming by the beach. And didn't you come to my house?
Yeah, I came to your house with my friend.
Yeah, you guys came to my house, and then they bought like swimwear from me, and we kept in contact after that. Once her friend left, we were hanging out and became friends. And I mean, first she was a client, now she's a friend, now she's a business partner. So it all worked out.
And what was your transition from teaching English to getting into swimwear?
Well, teaching English here wasn't really like sustainable for, I think, like the price that you have to pay here in Costa Rica. It's not cheap. So when I was teaching in the public school. Then I started teaching private lessons. And I just was looking for something else that I could sustain my life more and that I could also travel with. So at that time, I wanted to do something for myself, which I was super interested in swimwear. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to, go after this a little bit. And I just transitioned. As soon as we find this family in San Ramon is when we kind of started, like, I stopped teaching and started to do the swimwear.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where does the name Jungle Soul come from?
Yeah. Well, originally it was Diosa del Mar, which meant goddess of the ocean. But actually somebody else in Costa Rica had the same name as the brand, and it was a conflict of interest, for both brands. So we needed to change the name, and we were driving down south, and we were like, what can we name the brand? What is important to us? Like, what represents us in Costa Rica? And I mean, yeah, we live in the jungle, and it's jungle sun. So it's jungle soul, but it has two meanings. Like we have the soul of the jungle here in Costa Rica, but it's also like jungle sun. So it came to us when we were driving, resonated with us, and yeah, we've had it pretty much ever since.
So, Alex, tell me about the day that, Jess asked you to partner with her and actually come in to the business with her.
Well, at that point, I think I was just coming back from Canada. So I ended up spending 6 months in Costa Rica, and then I had to go back because I was supposed to be here for 3 months. So I went back for a few months. And then when I came back, I made the decision, okay, I'm moving to Costa Rica. I'm going to make a life there. And then me and Jess were just in a pool, talking, and then she mentioned something about needing help. Yeah. And then I was like, I have all the time in the world right now. Of course, I can help you. Tell me what to do. I'll help you with anything. Yeah. And then actually she asked me, well, should we just be partner? So that's kind of how it went. It was like a casual pool day. Exactly.
No, but obviously evolved since then. But yeah, that's pretty much how it started. I mean, we got our first account here together, which was somebody who randomly found the page on Instagram, was moving into the town of Manuel Antonio, wanted to open a swimwear store, and wrote us and said hey, can you stock our store with bikinis? And at that point we were like, yes, we can, but we don't know how. So we got the manufacturer here in Costa Rica and kind of just figured it out along the way. And I think that kind of was,
this is when it got real.
Yeah. This is when, we became partners and kind of started to take the brand more seriously.
And I mean, at that point, was this something that was able to be sustainable, financially, or were you guys still?
We were hustling.
Well?
We were hustling, but we were working other jobs as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was still teaching a bit, and I mean, just anything. I mean, back in the day, we were getting hired for some modeling jobs here in Costa Rica.
Some wedding,
just random jobs. Yeah, just that we were picking up around town, and to sustain being able to invest into the company and put money into it. But yeah, I mean, now it's different. I mean, that was 8 or 9 years ago. Mm-hmm.
So you get the order to fill a store, but you don't have anything yet.
Yeah. So my mentor, I called him right away, and I was like, hey, this happened. They want 1,000 pieces. I mean, it was something ridiculous that it's still the biggest order that we had ever had to date. And he was like, take the order, figure it out later. So that's what we did. We took the order. And I mean, the fact that the woman was also just starting, we had a lot of leeway to kind of decide what we wanted to do and how we wanted, the styles we wanted to make and everything like that. So yeah, we got a contact. There was this girl, Christina, that was living in town. She gave us a contact to a really great seamstress. And we worked with her family for a couple years after that to finish that order and deliver that, and then also produce a little bit more with them.
Yeah, for a few years, right? Probably 3?
Yeah, 3 years. And at that point, we didn't have any stores, but we knew that putting the bathing suits in other people's stores could be also a flow of income for us. So that's what we started to do from there, was look for other locations, look for other stores in Costa Rica that would want to carry the brand. So.
Yeah, we would literally go to stores with a duffel bag of swimwear just to show them and say hey, this is what we got. Do you want to work with us?
Yeah, but I mean, we had some good luck. I mean, people would say, we would.
Yeah, the one in Dominica was always really good for us.
But then you did the duffel bag in, what is that?
Samara. Yeah, that was a good one as well. Oh my God, that's years ago.
Yeah.
So, starting off just going store to store,
Yeah.
putting your bikinis in there. What's kind of evolved from then? So, from your getting your first order until we are here today.
I feel like it's still a hustle, but it's like more of, what would you say, like a consistent hustle now, like where we're working really hard to manage the stores that we have. Back then, it was not as reliable. Some months would be great and the stores would sell some swimwear, or we would get some accounts for wholesale or some international orders.
Or we would do pop-ups once in a while,
but it was always
we could do.
It was hit or miss. So it's like, okay, this could be really good, lots of highs, lots of lows. And it wasn't consistent. So now, of course, with the stores, it's definitely better. It's more consistent. We have foot traffic. We have people that are coming. We have clients that return. So it's definitely more sustainable now at this point financially.
And what does it take to get started in swimwear?
A good team, for sure. I think you need like a good team. You need a really reliable production. I mean, people in that industry, they're just going to tell you, yeah, okay, everything's going to be ready by February. And then, November comes around and you are so behind. And it doesn't matter where you produce in the world. You're going to have those issues with production. So you need to just have a lot of patience and time and just do things the right way. Do your research and get samples and, test things before you go all in with what you're going to do.
Yeah, we definitely learned the hard way.
Yeah, we've had a lot of trial and error. Now we have like a really solid team, but we went years with trying to go to other countries and produce and trying to just trust people blindly, which you just obviously can't in that industry. You need to do your due diligence.
So tell me about, so let's get into like...
To the wrongs, to the lows.
Like
the not so pretty part of the bikini world.
Yeah, like, you have your production here.
Yeah.
But was it always here? I mean,
no, it wasn't always here. We started off in Costa Rica. Once the brand started getting a little bit more attention, we were like, maybe we can do something in Guatemala. I got a contact also from my mentor, who was a reliable source, Antonio, great guy. We went to Guatemala and we produced with them for one season, but it was really hard because you're not there to oversee everything. We were taking trips there, we were doing our samples there, all of everything.
And we were still learning so much. Like we thought like everything would get done in a week with us like being at the factory for like a week, and then next thing you know, like you leave after a week and we were like, oh my God, we didn't even get anything done. We don't even have all the samples and like things like this.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was definitely a learning experience. They had a great team, but also I think ethically it wasn't a right fit for like what we wanted to do. It was like working in a factory situation where there's 300, 500 people like on a mass production, on a mass scale. And I think with time, like also like our ethics evolved and like what we wanted the brand to be, what wasn't the right fit. So after Guatemala, we also tried to find what we thought we found on LinkedIn, basically a sustainable slow fashion factory in Mexico. And I mean, we worked with them digitally and like by video call for 8 months prior to committing and going all in. And it was a scam. Yeah. So, I mean, even though the guy was extremely intelligent and he knew everything about fashion and he did have a factory. I mean, we saw him cutting things. We saw him making samples. We received samples prior to doing a deposit and prior to us sending a ton of fabric there. Fast forward 8 months and not answering the calls. Every excuse that you can imagine. And at that point we knew, okay, something's wrong. And at one point it came to a T when he was like, don't send me any more messages or this is going to happen. And we're like, okay, we backed off. But like
for a second.
we couldn't swallow the pill of like losing that much money and also losing our fabric, which like the fabric is almost more valuable than your money that you put down, because with the fabric you can do so much. So we booked a trip to Mexico, found his address on Google Maps, and went to go knock on Pablo's door. And yeah, he was like a ghost when he saw us. He opened the door. He was not expecting us to show up in Mexico.
And I remember the Uber driver was like, "Are you sure this is where you want to get dropped off?" And we were like, "Yes, this is it."
So bad. So crazy when you actually say it out loud. But at that point, we were just like not accepting the truth and the reality of the situation. We were just going for it. We brought empty suitcases with us. We were gonna like bring everything that we could back. We did salvage like a good amount of swimwear fabric that was already cut, that they had just like cut and stopped making. And through that trip of Mexico, we met like a really good woman who I think like inspires both of us. She saved us. Like she told us, your taxes haven't been paid on all of the exercise fabric. Actually, he doesn't even have it. It's in this bodega. I'll get it for you. I'll make it at my factory. So, you know, it wasn't a total loss, but it was definitely a big lesson learned for us, a crazy long lesson. I mean, if people continue after that happening and losing that much money, I think like it's something that we really wanted to do, right? Because most people would just completely quit after that. I mean, I thought about quitting, just finding a different job.
Yeah, because we came back to Costa Rica with all this fabric just like cut, like so nothing was sewn.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, now we need to find someone that will like sew this, so the work of somebody that already cut all this fabric.
Right.
So that was another
Obstacle, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So,
And what'd you do to overcome that?
I mean, yeah, we just put our right foot forward and tried to find a production here in Costa Rica, and we did.
I think it was from like a group from Facebook, right?
Yeah, I posted I was like in part of like the sewers club in Quepos, and I posted in that group on Facebook, and one of the women messaged me and she said like, hey, yeah, I have a production. I do my own patterns. I have a team. I have like my own company. And so, yeah, from that, we did a lot of samples, worked with her, and we're still working with her to this day.
And for people who, I'd say like myself, are just naive to the fashion world.
Right.
Like, what's the difference between, what is slow fashion?
Slow fashion is the process of not over-consuming. So you're going to have things that are made by hand or naturally dyed. You're going to have raw materials. You're not mass producing. You're not producing in a huge factory, hundreds of thousands of articles. You're consuming less, only what you need, and quality products. So that's like, and I mean, now it's been years that we've been kind of going the slow fashion route, working with local brands, working with indigenous tribes in Costa Rica that also we learned a lot from. Weaving, looking for the best weavers of the world, going to Oaxaca, doing workshops there. And yeah, it's definitely, I think, worth it to go the slow fashion route. I mean, it's longer, right? Your products are not gonna be made that instant gratification, but they're gonna be worth it. They're gonna last a long time. You're gonna pay more for them, but you're also gonna value them more. So you're gonna have them a lot longer.
And I think also for us, it makes us like produce basically almost like 12 months out of the year instead of like just doing like a massive production and then you're done. So we're like always in production, basically.
Always designing, always in production. But it's good. It also sustains other people's jobs, because when you are just doing one production a year and you're only going for 3 months in that production, for the rest of the months of the year, those people are, okay, what do we do now? And how do we feed our families and everything? So I feel that this works best for us. It works best for the people that we work with and that we employ. And yeah, I think now we have a rhythm, so.
And how would you say that slow fashion then ties into the Jungle Soul brand? You know, when people think of Jungle Soul, like what do you want them to think of? What do you think your brand really portrays?
Yeah, I think Jungle Soul started with swimwear, but now
eco-friendly also.
Yeah, I mean, we would like to be known as ethically, socially responsible with what we pay people, especially. That's like a big, I would say, how do you say, like a tema?
Theme?
Yeah, like I guess a theme, like a big point of like this world is that people want to pay pennies to have their clothes made, and they want it done fast, and you don't know who's making your clothes. You know, we've gotten so many recommendations. Oh, you should go produce in China. You should produce in Indonesia. They have great seamstresses. But it's like, do we really want to be paying 20 cents to who knows who and not being there overseeing it? So I feel like what Jungle Souls like would like to be known for is like our values. Of how we treat our employees. Like, our employees are our team. You know, we don't treat them like employees. We treat them like a team, make sure that they're well taken care of and happy. And like, same with our clothes. You know, they're of value. So it's definitely evolved. I mean, from swimwear to something else now.
To linen, to
raw cotton, to working with the Borucans here in Costa Rica. That came out of the pandemic. I mean, a big identity of the brand is working with indigenous tribes. I mean, whether it be here or at the clan in Guatemala or Oaxaca in Mexico, I personally like love to learn from them. It's just incredible that something can be grown from the ground. They all grow their own cotton. They all naturally dye it with the same plants that are grown. And I mean, that's where we are shifting now. We still have the swimwear, which is also eco-friendly, sustainable materials, but now we have so much more, and we've just learned so much just in the past 3 years.
Definitely.
So you mentioned the indigenous tribes. Alex, why don't you tell us about some of the indigenous tribes you've gone to and what your experiences have been?
Well, we've been to a couple so far. I think the one that is the closest to us would be the one in Costa Rica, because they're right here as well, which is about like an hour south of Manuel Antonio where we live. And they're just like amazing people. They're super humble. What they do is amazing. I mean, they grow their cotton. They make like little, I have a hard time.
The backstrap loom.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean like that little machine that makes like the thread first.
Yeah.
And then they use the back loom to weave. Oh my God.
To weave everything.
To weave everything.
Yeah, thread by thread. So it's not like a machine. It's a loom it's a belt that you wear and a wooden like contraption, and they're putting the thread and weaving one and one, you know,
It's
thread by thread.
Pretty impressive to see them work. And then just before that, they'll like dye everything from like curcuma to bark to leaves to like anything basically. So all their colors are also naturally dyed, and it's pretty magical just to see them work. And I feel like they don't even really know what's like going on like on the outside world. They're just like in their little bubbles, and it's kind of like a shame
refreshing. I think it's refreshing.
Yeah, definitely refreshing, but it's a shame that they're not more known, because their work is very, very special.
Do you have any work in the shop here from them?
Yeah. Do you want me to grab a bag?
Yeah, we have these little bags right there too.
So yeah, these are like smaller versions of the ones that we have outside. But yeah, these are all woven on the backstrap loom. Basically what they do is they create a long piece of fabric, and then from that they can cut and make these smaller ones and make the larger ones that we have outside that has like, each one has a little wooden mask on it, because the men of the Borucan tribe are known for their Borucan masks, which were originally made to scare off Spanish intruders. And the women do all of the weaving of the tribe. So these are like a couple like little change purses that we have here, and then we have the larger version outside. But it's one of the most popular things, and a lot of people come into the shop and they say, oh, we didn't know that Costa Rica had any indigenous. And so I also like the fact that we're here to educate like our clients and friends, everyone in between, that there are 7 indigenous tribes here, and they all work incredibly well. And yeah, the Borucans are closest to our heart, but.
And what the Borucan do also is like a collective work. So one family will grow the cotton, the other family will dye it, another family will sew it, put the bag together, and then like Jess was saying, the little like wooden face, they'll put this also on the bigger bags. So also basically
people know it's from them.
Exactly, and from getting one bag, so many family like touch the same like little bag basically.
Yeah.
And what other tribes or, countries, places do you bring your stuff in from?
We've been to Guatemala a few times.
Countless times.
Yeah, definitely. And it also has like a special place in our heart, like from just going on that one trip well, when we went to do the swimwear to start the production in Guatemala, and then we ended up like taking a little trip. We went to the lake and we had a great time. So even if
We got sidetracked. We went on vacation.
yeah, definitely. And even if like the swimwear there didn't work out, well, we got to know this beautiful country, and now that we're working with them, and like same thing, they do a similar work with the back loom, and everything is naturally dyed.
Yeah, we work with a woman, Dominga, in San Juan de la Laguna. It's right on Lake Atitlan. And her and her family, they just do incredible work. Again, it's a collective. It's all women weavers. And Guatemala has even more possibilities of natural dye. Here in Costa Rica, it's very, okay, you do this for red, you do this for blue, you do this. There, they're using all kinds of techniques to vary the colors, different tones.
With rosemary,
Yeah, just everything in between. So yeah, we've been working again like in Atitlan for the couple of years now to do some dresses, and then in Oaxaca.
Yep. This little top.
Yeah, Oaxaca has like hands down the best weavers of the world. So all of the culture is there, and it's like exactly what we were looking for to incorporate into the brand. And we just could learn so much from the people there. The culture is still there. They still wear their articles. They still are keeping it alive. Here in Costa Rica, the indigenous culture has sadly been dismissed, and people don't really know about it. It's not like you see it everywhere. You don't see indigenous people walking around with their formal outfits on. In Oaxaca, it's very different. All of the people are indigenous, and they're all like, every family has a weaver, whether it's to a rug or a shirt or anything. Everyone is creatives there, which is just inspiring in general for us to go there and be a part of that.
And they use a lot of organic cotton, so it kind of works out perfectly with what we want to go with.
All raw materials.
Everything flows.
Yeah.
And so what's changed in the 10 years Jungle Soul's been around? I mean, 10 years?
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
9 years?
Yeah.
And it started off as the Oasis Nomar, changed to Jungle Soul.
Yeah.
And now we tagged on collection.
Collection, yeah, because I mean, now it's not just swimwear, so now we have a collection of clothing and Costa Rican brands and jewelry. I mean, everything. It's definitely evolved. What would you say is different?
Man, we definitely grew a lot from selling bathing suit on the beach, and here we are in 2023. We have 3 locations, 3 stores. So now we're entrepreneurs for real, and not for real, but it's not just
Now we
like
don't need like other jobs to sustain
Exactly.
Our passion. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Alex, you and I used to work together. Tell me about the day that you left CRV to come and do this full time.
Touchy subject.
Yeah,
No, just
definitely.
kidding.
Well, I think it came to the point where that job was taking a lot of time from me, and also Jess on her side, she was doing Jungle Soul 100%, so it came to the point where I had to make a decision. Do I want to like grow with my project, or do I want to grow with another company? So thankfully, I made the right decision because I'm super happy to be here. And then basically our second location at that point was growing a lot, and we just had a lot of work, and Jess was kind of like left on her own. So I made the decision to focus 100% on her brand, and it was the best decision ever.
Also, I feel like just in general, like, I mean, the people around you were seeing you like not that happy.
Right, I was just
You were
like
just
working.
consumed.
Exactly.
Trying to balance both. And I mean, just, always having to be connected to your phone or always having to be connected to your computer is just like not a nice lifestyle either. So, I mean, the brand also gives us a lot of freedom. So I'm happy she, made that decision.
Yeah, definitely. Like also the fact that like when we work, even if like at time we're super like overwhelmed or stressed, like we're still
still get
together, like
weekends
we're
off.
friends. So exactly, we get our weekends off. But we're friends, so we work together, so it doesn't feel like work. Or even when I'm working at the store, like this is my baby, so
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like work like it did with this other job.
Yeah.
And what are some milestones that you guys have had, and what did it take to accomplish those steps to get you to where you are today?
Milestones. I mean, I think that first big order was like a huge milestone for us. I mean, just to see like that type of money like come from a project that you're really passionate about. I think that was like a milestone, but also like inspirational that like, hey, we can do this. We can try to generate this type of client in other locations. That was a milestone. I think a huge milestone, even though it wasn't a good milestone, was Mexico. I mean, it was like the deciding factor, like, are we just gonna leave this business go and, try to save some money doing something else? Or are we gonna really like pick up our shit and continue the journey?
And at least it brought us to like producing in Costa Rica again.
Yeah.
So now we're proud to say, oh, these bathing suits are handmade in Costa Rica versus like being in Costa Rica having bathing suit made in Mexico.
Right.
It makes way more sense for us and the brand as well.
Yeah, when you're in that moment, you don't see the lessons that it's like teaching you. Of course, all you see is like tragedy, but yeah, like, but yeah, I think like now you can reflect back and say, okay, yes, that happened for a reason. We know what not to do at this point. Yeah, so I mean, it's like I said, it's been years of ups and downs and twists and turns. The pandemic also put like a fire under our ass to kind of do something more with the brand. I mean, the borders being shut for 8 months, not being able to ship out of the country to clients that were willing to pay. I wanted to have a store. I said, like, let's do it. Let's have a store location. The first one was at the marina, which was great. That was a milestone for us. I mean, we popped champagne, we had the store, and we didn't know really what we were doing at the time. Now
it was the beginning of 2021,
yeah.
So it was a little crazy.
It was such a risk, but it was a great risk at the end.
Thanks to Jess, because I was definitely more stressed than, and she was like, let's do it, we got this. And I was kind of like, oh my God, like, do we, like.
She told me, I cannot believe you're bringing this to me today. And I was like, well, I think we should do it, but let's talk about it later, like, let's come back, let's circle back to this.
But it all worked out.
Yeah, and now, I mean, now we have bigger goals and we want to like have, more milestones, but definitely having the stores is like, it's a dream. I mean, it's a passion project that's still working itself. And yeah, it allows us to have a nice lifestyle, meet amazing people that come in and out of here, and hopefully inspire other people to do, something similar to show it's like possible.
So you got your first store. We're in your second store.
Yeah.
What was it like getting, growing from 1 to 2?
Amazing.
Yeah,
much better.
It made so much sense for us.
We have a lot of rules with the first store. It's in the marina, so there's like rules that come with the space. There's rules that come with having a business partner because we have a business partner there. It's a shared space. So in this space particular, like this is our baby. This is just me and Alex. This is us doing what we want without rules and regulations and selling what we want. And yeah, it
definitely represent more like us and the brand.
It's been a breath of fresh air, because in the marina you kind of have to like go with guidelines and you have to sell what you're told. And yeah, we always stayed true to ourselves. People would say like, oh, well, just bring this. And we're like, no, we don't want to sell just random things just to sell it, right? We want to sell like what's close to our hearts.
Things that we want to use, things that we want to wear.
And that's what Indigo is. So yeah, we definitely growing from 2 spaces. It's been more work, but it's been like in a positive growth for sure.
And now we're on to store 3.
Yeah.
So what was it? I just keep going. What, what was that?
Store 3 for me has been hard because I have a baby.
Right.
So my baby takes up like so much time in this moment, but I mean, we're pushing through. It's good.
Yes.
Yeah. Baby, not a store.
Yeah, like a real life baby.
A real life baby.
Yeah. So no, it's been good though. I mean, like I bring him to work with me sometimes, and it's beautiful. Each store is unique in its own way. The third location is completely different than this one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're sharing this space again with a business partner,
ours,
but she's also a good friend. So we can relate a little more, maybe like represent again like us and the brand.
We have freedom.
More.
I mean, the most important thing is having freedom, like to do what you want and sell what you want. And yeah, Julie, which Julie, I mean, she does vintage clothing secondhand, so it also is kind of right there with what we want to do with slow fashion and bringing people quality clothes. So it works out really well with her.
Yeah, and once again, it's more like it's fun to go to the third store. It doesn't feel like work.
It's the girls' club.
It's the girls' club.
Yeah, it's not a store. It's the girls' club.
I will be stopping by there on my way out of here to get a sandwich.
Oh yeah, me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
And so we're at 3.
Yeah.
What are we getting? 4, 5, 6, 7? We going international?
We've been talking about it.
The goal is 10 by 2030.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
So one by year.
in Costa Rica?
What?
Or you want to go Mexico, Guatemala?
It would be such a dream to have a store in Mexico, but I do think like again with like the lessons that we've learned, I think having stores where we live and like where we're based just makes
Where
more
we can
sense.
oversee things and
Yeah. If something came along, and I do believe in like things that are like meant to be, like if we meet somebody that lives in a beautiful part of Mexico and they're looking for a business partner and they want to open a store and they live there, sure. I mean, if it's the right fit, would love to be like international. But the best part about being in Costa Rica and living in a tourist area is that everyone that visits us is international. So it's not our pieces are just being known and worn in Costa Rica. They go back to Sweden, they go back to New York. I've had people from the Hamptons come and tell me, oh, please, like come do a pop-up shop at my surf shack here. And I'm like, okay, like it sounds good to me. Yeah, so it's nice that the pieces travel well.
And a lot of people that come to the store and buy stuff, they'll order from us in the future also from our website.
Returning clients is also
Exactly.
a major part of us.
So, Alex, looking back on, I don't know, let's say the first time you stepped on that plane to go to Mexico. Like, looking back on that now, like where you are today, like what would you tell yourself?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I was so young. I was only like 24 at that point. Now I'm 34.
Probably
so.
drink less tequila.
Yeah, definitely drink less tequila. Focus. No, I'm just kidding. But I think it was part of my path as well. Like just from, like I mentioned as a joke earlier, from being like a beach bum to now like an entrepreneur of having 3 businesses and working with my best friend. Keep going. And then also like you just need to have dreams and goals in life. And then it's not necessarily easy, but just like go for it. Like being far away from my family is also hard, but also like I know that my soul belongs here, so that's why I'm still in Costa Rica. And
your family likes to visit you.
And my family likes to visit.
They
so
escape the winters now too.
definitely. So yeah, just like push, and then it's not always easy. There's like beautiful moments, there's hard moments, but I think at the end it's all worth it.
And what about you? Let's say like Jess, the first time you were like, you know what, I'm gonna make my own bikinis. Like, what would you tell yourself? What would you tell that Jess sitting where you are today?
That there's no like time limit or age limit of like what you can accomplish. I think that you just, if you feel very passionate about something, to pursue it, because I mean those passions and those things that you have inside they're there for a reason. Like we can all just go get a job and just get a paycheck and just do a 9 to 5. But I mean, if there's something that you feel like is calling, I would just say like to pursue it. And you don't have to put time limits on yourself or, okay, by 30, I need to have a store, or by this, I need to have a house. I mean, life just works in its own ways, and you can plan as much as you want. And, half the time your plan is not going to go the way that you want anyway. So just to go for it and not have, restrictions for yourself.
And do you guys have any, like I know the bikinis behind you mentioned they're printed here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, could you explain kind of that process and how that works?
Yeah, all of the patterns are hand drawn. And then what we do is, this is a recycled polyester that we are able to find in Costa Rica. To the previous years, we didn't have any sustainable fabric options. So we were doing some bamboo, importing everything. Now we're just kind of like dipping our feet into this fabric, which is recycled polyester. Everything is hand drawn, and then it's printed also in San Jose.
On like white fabric.
Yeah, on white fabric. And then also everything is produced here by hand. So we have just a team of 4 women, and everyone is either doing the pattern, cutting the pieces, And it's a small production, like each production we're making a couple hundred pieces, enough to put in the stores, and then a couple months later we do it again. We're not storing hundreds of thousands of pieces and then throwing it away when the season is over, which is what fast fashion would be. We are selling everything before we produce again. So that's, important part of us and the fabric. And yeah, I think people enjoy that and like it, especially people that are coming from the US. I mean, we have a lot of tourists here from the US, and the US is kind of like overconsumption in general. So the fact that they do find something different here that's different, it's not a souvenir, it's unique to the area. That's mostly what we're trying to bring to the community and Manuel Antonio in general.
And what are bamboo bikinis?
Fabric that is made from bamboo. So that has been chopped down, made into how do you say, like the milled bamboo, and then it's going to be made into a fabric which is sustainable, which is raw, which doesn't come with pesticides, not treated with all kinds of chemicals.
Super soft.
And yeah, it's soft, it's ribbed, and then we print with also like eco dyes onto the bamboo material. So it comes with UV protection, chlorine protection, the colors are not going to fade, and then bamboo in general is like an insect repellent. So it comes with so many different properties. It's good to put on your children. It's not going to, have microplastics. So yeah, that's the bamboo that we use.
Didn't you work at like a bamboo shirt store?
Yeah, this is where I got a little bit of my experience. I was a manager at a bamboo store here in
Now they're
in
in
town.
competition.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Very different products, but at least I got to learn a few things.
All right. So, ladies, thank you for having me here today.
Thank you.
If people want to come find you, where can we find you online, social media, and where are your stores?
Online
on Instagram.
Yeah, online it's junglesoulcollection.com. Soul like the sun, SOL. And on Instagram it's the same, Jungle Soul Collection. And Alex has the details.
The details right there.
We also have Indigo, which is the store that we're in right now, and Luna Yena, which is the third location.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing some light onto the brand, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it.
Shots!
Thank you for watching this episode of Bizpirations. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you're ready when the next episode comes out in 2 weeks. See you then.